welcome to episode 68 of C3 Crystals, Cauldrons, and Cocktails. I'm Wren.
And I'm River.
And today we are going to be talking about reincarnation. But first, what are we drinking?
What are we drinking?
We are drinking...
We're together, y'all.
Yes, we are. We are.
So the question is, what have we not been drinking?
Well, what has River not been drinking? I have been sticking to a mulled wine, which River's been switching on and off a bit.
Mm-hmm.
But
I like wine. It's just a little sweet. So sometimes I need to go to other things.
Yeah, I stuck with the more traditional route of like something simple, some wine. And this is also the drink of the month.
Yes, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So to get into what we're talking about today, what is reincarnation? So the basic definition in the dictionary is the rebirth of a soul into a new body.
Mm-hmm.
It is also talked about as being rebirth or transmigration. It is the philosophical or religious concept that the non-physical essence of a living being, I guess like the soul or whatever that particular religion calls it, begins a new life in a different physical form or body after biological death of the prior physical form.
So does that mean anything living has a soul? So
that is always up for debate. That is up for debate. And then, some cultures believe that we do get reincarnated as other things besides humans. So animals, maybe plants. I don't know.
Yeah. I could go really, really deep into the plant thing because it is said, we as humans can only hear to a specific frequency. Like we can't hear beyond what frequencies we can't.
Yeah, we're actually fairly limited. Yeah. And what we can see too.
Yeah. Same thing with sight. And so, who's to say that trees aren't, I sound crazy, but trees aren't talking in a sense to each other.
I think it's quite possible.
Yeah.
I want to be a tree when I die. I want to be buried. I don't want to be buried. I want to be cremated and have a tree planted on top of my ashes so that I can grow into
your body.
My body. So that will be my body.
Your physical self.
My physical self. And I want to be a part of a tree. I don't know if that means my soul will hang around that tree too. There was one religion, I don't think I put this in the podcast, but one of the sites I was reading, they said that some cultures believe that when you're buried, your soul hangs around your burial site for a time, whatever. There is no specified time limit before it finds another body of some kind to inhabit.
That's interesting.
Isn't that weird?
I also want to preface that us talking about reincarnation has nothing to do with your beliefs. And if you don't believe in it,
for sure.
It's just a broad topic. And I don't want anybody to feel I don't want to listen to them because whatever reason, we are completely open to everybody.
Oh, yeah.
And whatever you believe in, no matter what.
Yeah. And I'd like to know other beliefs. I certainly wasn't able to find all the beliefs in the small research that I did for this episode.
But it's just a broad topic on reincarnation and what its definition is and what potential evidence there is for it.
And I've got stories
everything that pertains to it. Yeah. Yeah. So
in many religions, belief in multiple souls is common, which I actually had never heard that before.
I never heard of that.
It says the soul is frequently viewed as capable of leaving the body through the mouth or the nostrils and of being reborn, for example, as a bird, a butterfly, or an insect.
Oh.
In South Africa, there's a culture that believes that, I did put it in the podcast, that when a person dies, the soul stays near the grave for a short time before seeking its new resting place or another body, whether it's human, mammalian, or reptilian.
Oh, okay.
So that culture didn't say plants, but, I don't know.
But I also know, I think that religion is a human concept type of vibe. And so, of course, maybe somebody, what would you want to be reincarnated as? Not as an 800-year-old tree that's going to stay in the same spot for its whole life, you want to be able to imagine, my soul is going to go experience other things in another, trees are living, but quote unquote living moving
mobile
being.
thing. Yeah.
And I don't even know if people consider trees and plants to be alive.
Yeah.
Really.
I asked my husband, he thinks I'm so weird. The other day we were driving and I was looking at the trees and I'm like, do you think they feel things? Because like when you cut a tree, it bleeds. It has sap that comes, and he just looked at me and he's like, maybe.
Maybe. But I mean, it holds its history because when you cut the tree, it has those rings and that's its age and that's what it's been through. And it's the physical telling of what that tree has been through.
And trees take care of each other too. There is, when a blight hits, the older trees release some kind of, I don't know what it is, a signal or a hormone or something that makes the saplings that are growing immune to whatever that blight is. It won't save them because they're too old to have it, but they actually release a chemical or something that protects the ones that are growing now, the next generation, so to speak. So to me, that sounds like a living being.
I think it is a living being, but I think in terms of humans, we like to personify a lot. And it's living, but it doesn't probably have the feeling. It obviously doesn't have the feeling.
I mean, does it hurt when you cut a tree?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
So it's just like, we as humans like to personify things highly.
Well, yeah. And I guess when I'm talking about pain, I'm talking about it in a human sense.
Pain.
I mean, it may hurt in the tree sense that we don't even have a concept
tree
of.
Sense.
I mean, I don't know.
What are your senses today? Tree or squirrel?
Okay. So I found this really cool excerpt from a book online that I thought it was really cool because it was talking about it from the witch's perspective.
Okay.
So I'm just going to read it. It is from the Everything Wicca and Witchcraft book by Sky Alexander. And it's from 2008. So it says, the witch's body houses his soul. Witches who believe in reincarnation, and most do, regard Earth as a place of learning. Their time on this planet is spent gaining and applying knowledge in ways that can only be accomplished on the physical plane. The eventual goal, however, is to stop the cycle of reincarnation so that the soul can return to the source. And source is capital S. Like, I don't know what. I don't know what. I mean, I always think about Charmed, the source, that was the bad thing. But anyway, that was the source of all evil. So that's not what she's talking about here. But the earth, its creatures, everything in this world is seen as teachers, and all experiences are considered opportunities for growth. And I loved that.
Okay, I have never read this article. I have never even heard anything to do with this, and that is 100% what I believe. Yeah, we are here for the experiences, and however many experiences we need here or on other planets or wherever. I don't know the end goal.
Yeah. I don't know about this source, but I do also, like you, agree that, there's a lot to learn on this physical plane. Yeah. And that there's more than just physical stuff too.
I feel like everything's a lesson for a reason, or soul takes in, and that's why we have the terms old souls and all of that, because maybe they've been through more than we have. But I don't know why we as souls would be needing to experience these things and benefiting from it. How? I don't know. And I'm personally comfortable not knowing. I know I can take it as I've learned from this life. I've gained what I needed, whether that's heartbreak healing or just getting through a really hard life and having hardships to hobble around and figure out, that's what my soul was meant to experience in this lifetime.
The excerpt goes on and it says, how long a soul waits between incarnations is uncertain. Several years or perhaps decades or centuries may pass between sojourns on this world. Many people believe that you choose the time, place, and conditions into which you are born, or that you decide in concert with a divine plan of some kind that extends throughout the universe. You may have a specific task or reason for assuming a particular lifetime. Karmic issues incurred during previous existences might influence your present and future lifetimes. Mm-hmm. And consequently, your soul might have to wait until conditions on earth are optimal for you to undergo whatever the spiritual growth is that you are seeking before you can re-enter another physical form. And what about the myths and beliefs about people being reincarnated into animals? No one knows for certain. If you ask some pet owners, they'll tell you animals display uncanny psychic abilities and seem to have a soul or spirit, which I think all animals have souls, absolutely. Witches often have exceptionally strong ties with animal companions whom they call familiars. Although Hindus believe humans can reincarnate as other species, witches generally accept that human souls come back to earth in human bodies, which Gerald Gardner, mm-hmm. he is considered the founder of Wicca. Mm-hmm. He wrote in The Meaning of Witchcraft that witches are firm believers in reincarnation and that they say once a witch, always a witch.
I do. I like mm-hmm. that one. Mm-hmm. I would say I don't know if we've ever been or could be reincarnated into animals or anything like that. But with my animal passing away, my mm-hmm. dog, mm-hmm. she, I don't know. I never imagined her potentially reincarnating into a human. Mm-hmm. It's always like she might come back as another animal, or mm-hmm. she might have already learned her lesson on this planet. Mm-hmm. And that's that. Mm-hmm. She's waiting for me, or mm-hmm. I'll meet her again at some point. Maybe not in this lifetime, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I would say I probably have never been an animal that I can physically feel.
I don't know. What do you think about, you hear about hypnotism and having a hypnotist bring out past life experiences. What do you think about that?
I don't know, because I think, obviously if information is stored in a soul, I have no idea where it is. Mm-hmm. Where would it be? Potentially our brain, but our brain is also human. It's like physical. It's mm-hmm. it's literally meat of this earth.
Yeah. What is that concept where they talk about not genetic learning? Is it genetic learning where they talk about us knowing things that our ancestors knew simply through our genetics? I don't know. But yeah.
I don't know how to think about that. And especially with like some stories that we're going to talk about, mm-hmm. I find them so fascinating just because if we do have that knowledge, like if we carry it with us from being to being, then it has to be within us somewhere.
Yeah. And why wouldn't we remember though? If our whole point is to learn lessons, you would think that we would want to remember the lessons we learned before.
And I think that might play into, do we get to pick our mm-hmm. lives? Because it's like, you learned this lesson. Like, I know many people probably learn lessons I never will in this lifetime. Mm-hmm. So it's maybe something like that.
There was that movie with Robin Williams in it, and he and his soulmate, it was about reincarnation. I wish I had thought of that before we started recording, because then I could have looked it up. But it is a fantastic movie, and it's about soulmates and how Robin Williams and his soulmate were in this. And when you die, you actually go to a place where you do remember, and then you get back to this world and you can't remember that. Those memories can't come into this new form, or mm-hmm. you won't learn whatever it is that you need to learn.
Yeah, I could see that.
So it was a really good movie. Yeah, we should have watched it before now. But anyway, so what really fascinates me are the children having these memories. Uh-huh. That is fascinating to me, because I kind of feel like hypnotism might give there might be leading questions, that kind of thing, that,
And like, did they plant that incorrectly, mm-hmm. use their wording? Mm-hmm.
But with children, like 2 to 3 year old kids, they don't know this stuff. Some of these stories are really interesting. Okay. They're at University of Virginia, UVA. They have been interviewing children. There's a program there, and interviewing children about their former lives and these children's stories. And Dr. Tucker was one of the doctors that interviewed tons of children. And they came up with some general things that connect all of these kids' stories. Oh, okay. So number one, kids usually remember their previous existences between the ages of 2 and 7. Mm-hmm. After that, the memories begin to fade, or the kids lose interest as they grow. Mm-hmm. They become less invested in the past and more invested in the present.
But isn't that kind of like traumatizing in a way?
Yeah.
Because like you wake up and you're in this child's body. You're not with your, like, I know.
Very interesting. It makes me think of the Charmed, I thought about Charmed a lot doing the research for this episode. And you remember that episode, I'm talking about the original Charmed, that episode where they became like children again in their minds, and then they could see the supernatural stuff, and how we always have, kids can see things, fairies, and, as we grow older. I think that was the episode with the in-between spaces. I can't remember. Anyway, another thing that they discovered was that the vast majority of reincarnation stories, about 70%, involve violent or unnatural deaths.
Oh my. Okay.
Which kind of makes sense that those would be the ones that manifest memories, as opposed to a gentle passing. If you're reincarnated, there wasn't that trauma hanging over you. As
peaceful death versus a traumatic one.
Most of the previous lives were lived nearby the person who's been reincarnated.
So that's interesting.
Within 310 miles.
Interesting.
And had ended within a year or so of the child's birth.
Okay.
The children who recount past lives tend to have more advanced verbal skills at a younger age.
Okay, I mean, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. The children might experience heightened emotions like longing for their former families, phobias regarding their past experiences, or anger at their murderers.
Okay.
We listened to a podcast, and That's Why We Drink. Mm-hmm. And one of their episodes, they talked about reincarnation too. And they talked about one of the, it was an African country, I believe, where the reincarnated person actually was able to find their murderer.
I do remember that.
Vaguely remember that.
I remember him talking about the one to deal with the Holocaust. I don't know if that's the same one or not.
I don't remember.
I don't remember either. It all muddles together.
I know, but I remember how this little 4-year-old kid was able to go and find the murderer, and the murderer confessed.
I think you have another podcast that I listen to.
Maybe we like our podcasts. Yeah.
But yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Okay. Mm-hmm. But that one was the next village over the murderer lived in.
Okay.
Interesting.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Let's see. The children, the memories are spontaneous, that seem to come about when the kid sees something that they recognize, and that brings up their verbalization. Oh, I remember when I used to do this, and the mom or dad is going, what? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So here are some stories. When I was 12, I woke up with the distinct feeling of a rocking ship. I was laying in my bed, but it felt as if I was on a rocking ship. I also got very claustrophobic, as if I was in a small room. That same afternoon, when I got home from school, I watched a history program on the Titanic. It was really odd. I was watching it all alone, and I was seeing footage with people I had never seen before, but I would remember their names. The narrator would tell the names a while after, and I was right. Last year, I was attending a Titanic exhibition in Copenhagen, and I got this weird feeling when I walked inside. When I saw the reconstructions of the second-class cabins, I had this feeling like I was on a rocking ship again. Claustrophobia bubbled up in me, and I felt really seasick. I hurried into the next room, where I saw a piece of jewelry. I immediately knew that it was mine. I read the sign, and it said that the ring had belonged to one of the female second-class travelers whose body had been found but not identified. There was no name. It was believed to be an engagement ring, and now I keep getting the feeling that I belong somewhere else. It's really odd. I know things about the Titanic that I have never been told, and I am really afraid of closed spaces. When I saw the Titanic film, I began to freeze really badly, and my hands have never been warm since then.
Oh, okay.
That's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what to think of that.
Yeah, I mean, That's interesting. Yeah.
That was 12 years old. So past the age of 7.
Yeah.
But it was something that she saw that made her think.
I mean, we can talk about reincarnation for a long time.
Yeah.
In talking about things that you see, like I have a very, very strong gravitational pull towards Egypt and things that have to pertain with Egyptian things. Like if you tell me something like a fact about Egypt, I will remember it until I die. Like I remember a lot of stuff to do with Egypt just because I find the stuff so interesting. I physically am drawn to it.
Maybe you were reincarnated from an Egyptian person.
That means I don't know. Prior self helped build the pyramids.
Maybe. Or maybe you were just in that time. Maybe you weren't. I mean, who knows?
Yeah, who knows?
So here's another one. So it's a quote. It starts off with a quote from this little kid to his dad. When I was your age, I changed your diaper, said the dark-haired little boy to his father. Ron looked down at his smiling son, who had not yet turned 2. He thought it was a very strange thing to say, but he figured he had misheard him. But as the baby, named Sam, made similar remarks over the next few months, Ron and his wife, Kathy, gradually pieced together an odd story. Sam believed that he was his deceased grandfather, Ron's late father, who had returned to his family. More intrigued than alarmed, Ron and Kathy asked Sam, well, how did you come back? And he said, I went whoosh and came out the portal. So this kid is 2. He responded. Although Sam was a very precocious child, he had been speaking full sentences since the age of 18 months. His parents were stunned to hear him use a word like portal.
Oh, yeah.
And they encouraged him to say more. They asked Sam if he had any siblings, and he replied he had a sister who had turned into a fish. And they said, who turned her into a fish? And she said, some bad guys. She died. Eerily enough, Sam's grandfather had a sister who had been murdered 60 years earlier. Her body was found floating in the San Francisco Bay.
Oh.
They asked Sam, do you know how you died? And he jerked back and slapped the top of his head as if in pain. And 1 year before Sam was born, his grandfather had died of cerebral hemorrhage.
Oh, geez.
Isn't that crazy?
That's like traumatizing.
I mean, know.
How would you like it if one of like your kids, for example, was like, Mommy, I was your mom? It's like, I wouldn't know what to do. I'd be like, I would look at my child the same way. I'd be like, I don't want to take it back. I don't want it.
Yeah, very strange. Another case among those UVA children that were talked about was the story of an Oklahoma boy named Ryan. A few years ago, the 4-year-old woke up screaming at 2 a.m. Over the preceding months, he had been pleading with his bewildered mother, Cindy, to take him to the house where he had, quote, lived before. In tears, he'd beg her to return him to his glittering life in Hollywood. This is a 4-year-old. Complete with a big house, pool, fast cars. It was so fabulous, he once said, I can't live in these conditions. My last home was much better. How does that make you feel as a parent?
Yeah,
Jesus, yeah. I don't know.
I mean, like, I think I would be acting the same way. I mean, probably not the same way as, like, my home was better, but, like, in, like, the kicking and screaming of take me back to my normal, like...
Yeah, I want to go back to where I was before. Yeah. When Cindy went into her son's room that night, he kept repeating the same words, Mommy, I'm so homesick, as she tried to comfort him and rock him to sleep. She says he was like a little old man who couldn't remember all the details of his life. He was so frustrated and sad. The next morning, she went to the library and borrowed a pile of books about old Hollywood and brought them home. With Ryan in her lap, she went through the volumes and hoping that maybe the pictures would soothe him. Instead, he became more and more excited as they looked at one particular book. When they came to a still scene from a 1932 movie called Night After Night, he stopped her. Mama, he shouted, pointing at one of the actors who wasn't identified. That guy's me, the old me.
Oh, geez.
I know. I was shocked, Cindy admits. I never thought we'd find the person he thought he was, but she was equally relieved. Ryan had talked about his other life being so unhappy, and now we had something to go on. Although neither Sydney nor her husband believed in reincarnation, she went back to the library the next day and checked out a book about children who possessed the memories of their past lives. At the end of it was a note from the author, the Dr. Jim Tucker, saying that he wanted to hear from parents who had similar stories. So she sat down and wrote him a letter. So an archivist pored over the books in the film library until she found a person who appeared to be the man that he had singled out. Hollywood agent Marty Martin, who made an unbilled cameo in Night After Night. After Cindy spoke with Dr. Tucker, he interviewed Ryan, and then the family contacted Martin's daughter. She met with Dr. Tucker, Ryan, and Cindy. Along with public records, she confirmed more than 50 details that Ryan had reported about her father's life, from his work history to the location and contents of his home. Cindy felt tremendous relief when she was told that her story matched Martin's. She says, he wasn't crazy. He really did have another family.
I don't know how I would look at my kid after that. I'd be like, you're not mine. Go away.
I mean, very strange.
I don't know how I would feel. I'm unsettled.
I know. Fascinating stories. Here's another one. My mom was pregnant and lost the baby, who was going to be named Nicole. About 2 years later, I became pregnant and decided to name my baby Nicole. Mom and I talked about the possibility that it was the same soul who tried to come through her. When Nicole was about 5 years old, she said, Mommy, before I was in your tummy, I was in Grammy's tummy. I burst into tears and, of course, called my mom right away to tell her what Nicole had said. That was our confirmation.
I don't like that either.
Very strange.
It makes me uncomfortable.
Another story, I met a physician a while ago, I'll call her Mary, who told me a very interesting story. Mary's firstborn child died before she was 1. Mary used to sing a lullaby that was especially for that baby when she died suddenly, and then Mary never sang that song again. After 7 years, she had another little girl who began to sing that lullaby at the age of 4. Mary froze and asked her daughter how she knew the song, and she said, Mommy, you used to sing it to me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I mean, kids are imaginative, but some of these details are beyond a child's. I mean, don't get me wrong, kids are super imaginative, but I don't know, how do you get accurate facts? It's one thing to make up a story and have it be a really cool story, but to actually have those facts
be real.
Yeah. It reminds me of imaginary friends. You know, the imaginary friends that kids sometimes have.
Oh, yeah. Those are demons.
Yeah, I found some stories on those too, thinking about along the lines of reincarnation. You know, what are these? So there's the story about an imaginary friend. His name was Mr. Nobody. He started as the person the kids would blame if one of them forgot to flush the toilet, that kind of thing. And as his mythology then evolved, these were all told by 3 of this lady's kids, all who were 6, 5, and 3 years old. So not very old. Even the 6-year-old, that's not super old.
No, yeah.
Mr. Nobody has no eyes, no teeth, no tongue, and no nose. He doesn't wear pants, and he leaves his used toilet paper between his butt cheeks so you can tell where he is by his smell.
That's disgusting.
I mean, how does a 6-year-old come up with that? He doesn't wear a shirt, but has a pocket cut into his skin where he keeps the key to our house.
Oh, no. Hell no. Absolutely not.
He can be invisible. He has had a beard since he was a baby. He bites off his fingernails and then drips blood where he walks. Isn't that crazy? I mean, are the kids seeing a demon or a ghost or
a demon? That's a definite. That's no ghost.
I don't know about demons. I don't know. I mean, I don't know that there are demons. I mean, I guess that word can apply to whatever the entities are.
Evil.
I don't know.
Evil.
And then another one.
That was the end of that one?
Yeah.
Nothing else came from that?
Nope.
So
I guess as the kids grew up, they didn't see him anymore.
So the grown-ups can't see this thing
that's wandering around
skin pocket with their key to the house in it.
Pretty creepy.
And it's dripping blood. So if she's mopping, if the mom or dad of the house are mopping, they don't know that they're indirectly mopping up this nasty creature's blood. Absolutely not.
During childbirth, I had complications. I almost died, and my daughter actually did. They revived her, and We have been happy and healthy since, but since she was an infant and toddler, she always looked around like she's watching something and just giggling at it.
Absolutely not. Where did you get these stories?
That's the internet, man. Fast forward to the age of 4, and she told me about her first imaginary friend, Ghosty. All of her imaginary friends are ghosts. To this day, she still talks to them at the age of 7. Unsure if they're real or not, but I'm always sure to be kind to my daughter's ghost friends and invite them along with us.
You do not invite these things. Absolutely
if
not.
you're mean to them, I don't know.
Absolutely not.
Okay, and this one, my eldest son, now 20 years old, had an imaginary friend named Barcy. It was a giant wolf, but would transform into a boy. My wife and I didn't think much about it, but until we noticed my son had broken a plastic butter knife and was stabbing his stuffed animals. He told us that Barcy had told him to do it and had even helped. That was when we got concerned. We took him to get some counseling after an incident involving a lighter that he found on the ground outside of our apartment. He had tried to burn his baby brother's favorite toy. While in counseling, it came to light that Barcy was planning to eat our family and to pee our blood all over the apartment. This was the beginning of my son's counseling and mild medications. Barcy disappeared after a few months, and we were able to take my son off his medication the following year. He remained in counseling for quite a few years, but Barcy was never mentioned again.
I wonder if Barcy was like, "Don't mention me."
Yeah, I wonder.
Again. I hate that. Nope. Nope.
Super creepy.
Nope. Nope.
But I do like the idea that a soul learns every time it comes back to Earth. That reminds me of that story. I think it's actually on our website, The Egg. I think it's on our blog. Y'all go read that. It's about reincarnation, and basically it says that everyone on Earth is the same soul, just at different times.
Okay, I really like this one. But I don't like it because I'll look at people. I'm like, "You're a fucking idiot," and I'm like, are we the same right now, or we're just learning different things? But then that would mean that there's only one entire collective soul. So okay. Take souls out of this. We are all part of the universe. So basically we are all one. So that just plays into that type of thing. Yeah, it does.
Did you read The Egg when I posted it? You probably did.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, it's so cool.
Yeah.
But it's on our blog, and Wren has done some excellent work on our website, so y'all should go check it out. She's revamped it. It looks really good. She's done a great job.
I'm trying.
Yeah.
We're trying a little bit. This is our second week into the new year.
We're trying to keep ourselves going and motivated.
Okay, we've seen y'all's one of y'all's reviews on Apple Podcasts, and you're like, where are y'all? Where are y'all? We're coming back. We promise.
We are here.
We had a struggle year last year.
Yeah, it was a rough year. But anyway, that's all we've got on reincarnation. You can find us at our website, which is www.c3witchypodcast.com. There you'll find links to all of our episodes, links to our social media. We've got Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. I'm going to start trying to put all our episodes on YouTube, even though we don't have video. I know that Wren listens to a whole bunch of podcasts on YouTube without really watching them while she does other stuff. So I feel like our listeners might like to have that as a platform as well.
I think so. Let us know. And
yeah, I'm going to try to start doing that. I'm going to try to upload all of them, but have patience. I've got to figure it out. If you do like the podcast, please consider supporting us. You can find our Patreon through our website. It's on that very first page, little Patreon button, or you can go to www.patreon.com/C3witchypodcast. Any amount that you can pledge to us would be wonderful, would be a great, great help. Thank you to our existing patrons. You guys rock. Our patrons get extra goodies. Like I just posted some spell pages on the Patreon site, which are free for our patrons, or you can buy them on my Etsy store. Go check out my Etsy store. It's www.batsandbaublesinc.etsy.com. I got lots of witchy stuff on there that I'm constantly adding to.
Yeah, we're trying to do a little bit more on Patreon. I know we've been kind of neglecting the patrons, and we're so sorry, but we are, let you guys in on a little secret. We are recording a small Patreon episode today. So if you want to hear that, go check out our Patreon.
Definitely. So thank you, I think I said, to our existing patrons. You guys are amazing. And we'll be back.
We'll be back.
Until then, stay witchy.